In this video, I am sharing with you the latest trends when it comes to Amazon PPC and how to make the most out of your advertising dollars. I am sharing with you the main takeaways of the SELIX Benchmarker Report 2022. I went through the whole report and I compiled the main takeaways, but if you want to know more details about your specific niche or your specific product, then make sure to download the report and read it by yourself. The link will be down below. And before we get started, please do not forget to like this video and subscribe. So let's get into it. Let me tell you what we will cover today. First of all, I will tell you about Amazon advertising and how it compares to other PPC channels. Then I want to compare the main PPC metrics between different Amazon marketplaces and also want to explain you why Canada and Germany are emerging as great opportunities. After that, we'll take a look at the year-over-year development of the main metrics in the US marketplace. And finally, I will tell you about data for some specific categories and how you can benchmark yourself against them. There is a lot we can learn about Amazon PPC and what is happening in each marketplace, so let's just jump straight into it. Starting out with Amazon PPC versus other PPC platforms. What you need to know is that Amazon is actually the third most important or biggest PPC platform, only coming after Google and Facebook. So Amazon kind of matters when it comes to PPC advertising, especially if you look at the cost per click, because Amazon actually has an overall significantly lower CPC. 68% lower than Google, 44% lower than Facebook, 79% lower than Instagram, and 86% lower than LinkedIn. And why is that? Why is it that on average you pay less per click on Amazon PPC versus other platforms PPC? Because of course, Amazon's PPC traffic has a very high purchase intent. Amazon is naturally a lower funnel platform, as it is both a search and a retail platform. So pretty much every PPC ad you can run on Amazon leads the client straight to the product detail page and can potentially lead to a purchase. If you are planning on running PPC, Amazon is definitely something that you should consider, and I don't think it is going anywhere. Now let's compare the different Amazon marketplaces, because as you know, Amazon is currently present in a lot of different countries. The odds are that Amazon will keep extending their marketplaces. What do we want to understand when we compare different marketplaces? I think it's important to understand if the trends that we see in one marketplace are common in other marketplaces. If we are planning to enter a new marketplace, what is it that we need to be aware of? And also, are we missing out? Is there any low-hanging fruit that we should be aware of? Overall, what the SELIX report tells us is that each marketplace is unique, as it should, because each marketplace is a combination, is a result of the very specific ecosystem of sellers and buyers in that specific marketplace. So you cannot ever compare one marketplace to another in a one-to-one proportion. The SELIX Benchmarker Report, however, is able to draw some conclusions and compare the different metrics and what was seen in the last year, the evolution. Starting with CPC. Cost per click overall rose from 2020 to 2021 across all different marketplaces or geographies. US is the most expensive marketplace to advertise on, followed by Canada and UK, and finally Germany. Overall, the CPC on Amazon worldwide grew 21% year over year. However, Amazon, as I said, is still cheaper to advertise in versus other PPC platforms that we covered before. If you think about it on a cost per click perspective, Canada and entering in Canada is a very clear opportunity for US sellers, since the market is somehow similar. However, the cost per click seems to be lower. For sellers in the US, expanding to Canada and starting to run ads in Canada may seem a very natural and very good way to expand their business. Talking now about ACOS. And ACOS essentially is a percentage of revenue generated by an ad that was spent on that ad. If your ACOS increases because you spent more to sell a unit. And what the report found was that the median ACOS actually increased in the US, Canada, and the UK, but it remained somehow flat in Germany and the other European countries. This accounted for an average of 4% increase worldwide. And here, just like we spoke about the cost per click being lower in Canada versus the US, also when it comes to ACOS, Canada seems to be a good opportunity for the US sellers because the ACOS is also lower in Canada versus the US. However, sellers looking to enter Canada once they are already in the US need to be aware that the environment is a little bit different. Even if Canada has a lower average cost per click, or you should expect to pay less per each click, you should also expect a lower conversion rate. When you look at ACOS numbers, Germany also stands out as being a great opportunity for expansion because it is, in absolute terms, when you look at revenue or sales, the second biggest marketplace after the US. And there you will be able to find also a lower ACOS versus the US and also a 46% lower cost per click versus the US. All of that with a relatively good conversion rate. So the conversion rate is only 20% lower than the US. In the report, there's also a somehow big section analyzing the main metrics, the main PPC metrics in the US and how they developed year over year, which is incredibly relevant since we are just coming out of the pandemic and everybody seems to be worried on the post-pandemic boom and what does this mean for e-commerce, and is e-commerce actually decreasing, is this still a good opportunity or not? So the report tells us everything about it. Essentially, the market keeps growing even after the pandemic. Yes, the main pandemic year caused e-commerce to grow a lot. Amazon showed 40% year-over-year growth. The year before, the growth that Amazon saw was around 15% year-over-year. And 2020 to 2021, Amazon actually grew 13%, which is actually comparable to pre-pandemic numbers. Overall, we see a normalization, but the market is still growing on 2020's numbers. When it comes to PPC metrics, revenue that advertisers made from running ads actually increased versus 2020 by 23%. Advertisers spent more money in 2021 than 2020 on ads, overall 30% more. As I mentioned before, costs per click increased on an average of 21%, but click-through rates, so the percentage of people that clicked an ad after they've been exposed to it, also grew by 2.9%. Conversion rates, which are the likelihood or the amount of people that actually bought something after they've been exposed to an ad, also grew by 7%. So people are still very inclined to buy. They are looking to buy things, they are being exposed to ads, and they are actually buying on a 7% more likelihood than the year before. The average order value, so the amount of each order that was made, also grew by 3.2%, and overall the ACOS also grew by 7.5%. So there is a little bit of a decrease in profitability on Amazon PPC. However, this increase is actually lower to the overall increase in ad revenue, which was 23%, as I said in the beginning. We have higher conversion rates and only moderate increases in cost per click. So overall, it is still a very good market to advertise and to run PPC on. Now to the last section of this video, I would like to talk about specific categories. And of course, Amazon has a lot of different products across a lot of different countries, and comparing them can be a tricky task. So in the report, Selix explains the methodology that they actually used in order to make this comparison and the creation of this data possible. I would also like to remind you that if you want to know data about your specific category, your specific niche, or even your specific product, then make sure to download the full report and go through it. You can find it on the first link down below. Speaking again about click-through rates, the top category with the highest click-through rate across all is actually office products with 0.43%, while the bottom category is actually grocery and gourmet food with 0.33%. The category that saw the biggest growth when it came to click-through rates was actually health and household, which grew about 10%. The category that saw the biggest drop was automotive, with a drop close to 4%. The report also tells you what to consider when it comes to this metric and what can possibly explain it. So for example, when it comes to click-through rates, it's important to consider that, for example, technical products such as automotive actually to look very similar in the search results, and therefore people need to click in several of them in order to be able to compare them. Similarly, products with a higher aesthetic value, so for example clothing or other products that rely a lot on how the product actually looks, also need to be open in order for the person to actually be able to choose between them. On the other hand, for products that rely more on the price or in which the price is more of a factor, oftentimes the client doesn't need to click in several in order to make a decision. Speaking about cost per click, the cheapest category is actually toys and games with about $48 cost per click. The most expensive category is health and household with a $1.22 cost per click. The category with the smallest increase in cost per click was groceries and gourmet food with 8.9% increase. The category with the biggest increase in cost per click was actually patio, lawn and garden with 33.8% increase in cost per click versus the year before. What we can see when it comes to cost per click is actually the rise is across all categories without exceptions. That of course, the categories that have a higher level of competition tend to have a higher cost per click. Similarly, whenever we have a higher conversion rate in the category, we also tend to see a higher CPC because of course each click is potentially worth a lot for the advertisers. When it comes to conversion rate, the top category is grocery and gourmet food with 13.9% conversion rate. The bottom category is clothing, shoes and jewelry with 5.4% conversion rate. The category with the biggest growth in conversion rate was electronics with 15.7%, and the category with the biggest drop was toys and games. When it comes to average order value, the top category is tools and home improvement, in which each purchase usually is worth $44.99. The bottom category is grocery and gourmet food. Biggest growth was in patio, lawn and garden with 12.4% growth when it comes to average order value. And the biggest drop was in electronics with a drop of 7.4%. There is a lot of information in the report and they also cover all of the categories and a lot of different niches. However, just in these different data points that I was able to share in the video, we can already see that, for example, when it comes to grocery and gourmet food, it is the category with the worst click-through rate. In parallel, it is also the category in which the CPC increased the least. It increased only 8.9% versus last year. It has the best conversion rate, almost 14%. However, it has the lowest average order value with 21.77. So all of this allows you to form a very clear picture of the different categories, how you can work on one versus the other, how can you compare them. If you are planning on entering a new category, which one can make more sense for you to enter. Again, you can download the free Celix benchmarker report in the first link down below. And while you're at it, please do not forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. And if you want to learn more about Amazon PPC, then we have a whole playlist for you here.